like canceled culture, right? And sometimes we could argue that canceled culture actually will drive more views, right? Because I just explained the situation in which I figured out who Hair by Chrissy was, right? And it kind of was trying to cancel her culture. But moving forward, like if the influencer can take that information and go out and totally just kill your vibe, let's just say that, and say how pissed off she is over this whole experience, well, then you better expect that the older girl who has more experience in revenge is going to give it right back at your ass.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair.
It's me, Jennifer, from the Curly Girls Obsessions. Today, we're going to dish on some TikTok hair talk tea that's going on. This one was so interesting for me, and I really debated on doing a podcast episode about this because I think my team thinks I'm crazy, that I'm too involved in it, too wrapped up, too invested, but it drew me in. Okay, so let me say why it drew me in. So, you know, I've been in the hair industry for a long time. I went to hair school when I was I went to hair school when I was 15, and now I'm 50. So I've literally been immersed in the professional end of this career for 35 years. If we count when I started shampooing, that was when I was 12. So it's even been a minute more, right? I've been in this industry for a long time. And when I started, obviously I had just graduated high school. There were all these social norms around being a hairstylist that maybe the common person doesn't even know exist. But in my last podcast, I talked about speaking to the top 2% within the hair industry and what that actually means, right? And it's for people who treat their career as a hairstylist as a career, not for people who treat being a hairstylist like a hobbyist, emotionally discount, family discount, like charging low prices because this, that, the other, forgetting that they actually need to eat, pay their bills, and sometimes go to the doctor, and maybe if they're lucky, go on a vacation. Like, this doesn't exist when you treat it like a hobby or you're not invested in growth as a person. So let's start with how I first came to know about Hair by Chrissy. Hair by Chrissy was mentioned at this conference that I went to when I first started learning hand-tied hair. So if you know from previous podcasts, I've been doing hair extensions for over 16 years. The first 8 years of my career, I mainly did K-tips. I dabbled in tape-ins, I-tips, so many different types of extensions, but mainly I worked with K-tips. And then 8 years later, I was sold through a Facebook ad to go to California to learn hand-tied hair with a company called NBR at BMS Con 1. I was in the first conference that they ever hosted, and the ad was so good. Like, here we had been doing K-tips that took us anywhere from 8 to 12, maybe 15 hours, depending on the head, to understanding the fact that hand-tied hair could be installed in under 3 hours. And you're still going to charge the same price. Well, guess what? That was a no-brainer for me. And I took myself and 3 others on my team who wanted to go to California to learn how to do these hand-tied hair extensions. Everybody thought it was a massive win, and we were super excited. 1, about the trip, but 2, we were about to get really serious on where our careers were going. While when we started K-Tips, it seemed like we hit the jackpot as far as hairstylists, and we were like plastic surgeons for hair. There was a lot of downfalls with it that came that we didn't like. And let's be real, the time that it took to install them was probably the biggest part. The second was the amount of damage that it caused to the client's hair. And in the beginning, we kind of just told ourselves like, oh, that's just normal. That's just your normal shedded hair. That's this, that's that. But what really was the realization was when we started doing hand-tied hair extensions on these same clients, their actual hair started growing because it was not nearly as damaging as those K-tip hair extensions. And we could get a lot more bang for the buck with the client, right? We could install a lot more hair a lot faster and give them better looking results for the same price. Like, it was a win-win, right? So at that conference came up the fact that NPR was suing Hair by Chrissy. And why were they suing her? Well, you know, the creator of NPR and Hair by Chrissy worked together. They did hair extensions together. And then lo and behold, the 2 of them split for whatever reason. Hair by Chrissy had her method and NPR had their method. Both of them totally different, but NPR felt that Hair by Chrissy stole from them in some way, shape, or form, right? Whatever. So they talked about her there. And actually, I thought that was pretty freaking unprofessional because none of us knew who Hair by Chrissy was. And the minute that they started talking about that tea, every hairstylist in that room either started Googling her or wrote her name down on their name pad to Google later, right? Lo and behold, later comes, I look at her salon is really cool, and people are like, that saying, you know, find someone who's doing what you want to do very well and follow them and mimic it, right? Okay, awesome, great. So that salon was the salon that I really started following. I started taking note at how they were doing things. And then there was a few others scattered around in there. Forever, we had their membership on coloring techniques and business. I can't even remember what else was in there, but honestly, that online membership taught us so much stuff about coloring hair. Even me being in the industry for as long as I was like, oh, that's a really awesome way of getting from point A to point B and delivering big time results. It even taught us too, like how to, with curly hair, get highlights that don't disappear within the thickness, that bring the lightness all the way through to the ends. And we later coined it the Adored Signature Full Color. And I'm telling you, it's awesome. Our clients love it. We even have an Adored Signature Partial Color because of it. And just the formulations that they gave were amazing. And how were they doing this? Because they were seeing a lot of clients in that salon. They were able to deliver so much results, so much added value. And it was really awesome. Sorry if you hear my psycho dogs barking in the background. Whenever I leave them out there, they seem to lose their shit, but whatever. Okay, so that's how I learned of Hair by Chrissy, right? And moving forward, follow her for the 8 years. I did stop the membership after a while because they changed it. I didn't like the new format. But one of the girls at the salon recently just said, I wish we still had that because there was so much valuable information. And so I might consider it again because as a salon owner and the team being able to watch those and get takeaways. And I cannot tell you how many times people bring in an inspiration photo to us for color from someone who's gotten their hair colored at Habit Salon. So that's just the background on Hair by Chrissy. And because she's built up such an amazing reputation, she has a lot of clients. She has a ton of influencers who follow her. And it was interesting because through that education, you learned the deep dive into the influencer culture. They literally would fly the influencers to where their salon is, pick them up at the airport, bring them to the salon. They had, I don't know if this still exists since they got their California salon, but they had a private room for the influencers to get their hair done. And, you know, they did their hair for free. Like, it was a win-win for her because then they went out and they promoted her hair. And, you know, did they buy their extensions from her? Maybe they did. I don't know if she did the whole thing for free, but that's how it was portrayed. And this, like, we at the Adored Signature, there has been several influencers who've reached out to us and asked us for hair extensions because they want that texture in their hair. Like, it is a really cool way to get your product out there if the person knows exactly what they're doing. So now fast forward to this tea on Hair Talk, TikTok of Hair by Chrissy. Okay, so what fired me up probably the most was the fact that so many people were like, Hair by Chrissy, you know, she's older. Her response should be better than what it was. It should be more respectful than what it was to that girl. And I'm like, you know, because I'm so sick of this in today's day and age, because the power that an influencer has on social media, if they go on and they totally tank you or write a bad review, is huge. It's kind of like canceled culture, right? And sometimes we could argue that canceled culture actually will drive more views, right? Because I just explained the situation in which I figured out who Hair by Chrissy was, right? And it kind of was trying to cancel her culture. But moving forward, like, if the influencer can take that information and go out and totally just kill your vibe, let's just say that, and say how pissed off she is over this whole experience, well, then you better expect that the older girl who has more experience in revenge is going to give it right back at your ass. Like, that's just going to be. And I got to say that I feel like Hair by Chrissy's response, you know, it is what it is. She's probably sick of these girls doing this to her, and they get a great service. This influencer even went on to say that she likes her hair the first go round, right? And then she's recorded other videos now saying she doesn't like her hair, that she wasn't coming in for what she got, and that she brought in her own extensions that they wouldn't install. And just as an FYI, Adored Salon also is not going to install any hair extensions that you just bring in randomly off the street, newly purchased or not, because they're not our product and we don't know how they're going to perform in your hair. Because when the client leaves too, like, everything's off the table. You could have given them the best experience with all the information. They walk out the door and it's a whole different ball game of how they take care of it. And if they bought shit hair not knowing, then it's even worse because you actually installed it. So why would you install a product that you don't know anything about when you've got your own product that you know can deliver the results that you want, right? No, agreed, not going to happen. Also, the influencer had to pay a deposit, so she knew that it was going to be $4,000 to get these extensions done. And then this is where the rest of my stress comes on this situation, or the saltiness or the spiciness. There are actual hair extensions ripping apart, or actual hairstylists ripping apart Hair by Chrissy for the fact that she charges $4,000 for hair. Guys, that's how much hair extensions cost. I would tell you that our extensions at Adored Salon range anywhere from $1,300, and that's just the hair, the install, and the cut to blend for one row, up to $5,000, depending on what the client wants. Like, 1 row to 3 rows is a lot more hair. There's a lot more cost associated with it, and there's a lot more work involved in it too. A row of hair is like a head of hair, and you have to color it to match the client's natural hair. Like, this back and forthness on this whole topic of cost is actually null and void, because the cost of a product is what someone is willing to pay for the product. And this is a well-known thing in the hair extension industry, is that hair extensions are the highest priced product within a hair salon service. And that it's going to cost you a couple grand. It just is. If you want good hair like that with hair extensions where you don't even know that the client's wearing them, it's an expense. And with all due respect, it's a lot of education to get to be that good, to actually do something like that. Okay, so let's move forward. So you got Hair by Chrissy. She's older. Everybody's pissed off at how she responds because this influencer is just trashing her. Now we've got these new videos where this influencer is saying that she actually wanted something totally different. And like, what? In the first video, she was saying that she still did like her hair. She was just pissed off that Hair by Chrissy never touched her hair for more than 60 seconds, which also, like, if you've been following her for a long time, you would also know that Hair by Chrissy is the person whose name, face, reputation brings in the client. She consults, delegates, walks away, comes back for the finished product. Like, this is in all of her videos. I mean, it's so obvious that she's not going to be doing your hair. And so on the point of sale ticket, it said Hair by Chrissy, $29.75. The hair extension cost, which actually surprised me because the hair extension cost wasn't nearly as high as what I thought it would be. For as much hair as this girl got in her head, it was like roughly $1,000. And then there was the take-home kit of retail for her to maintain her extensions. Here's the deal. Odds are this girl signed a contract for all of this. Odds are, and if she didn't, shame on habit, shame on Hair by Chrissy. But like, if you're going to roll out the white glove service on a hair extension service, you should have a contract to back up everything that you said, right? So within the Adored contract, we start out with the client's information. Who's working on that client? Me and whoever, right? Because I personally never work alone on a hair extension client either. I always have someone helping me. I don't call them assistants because they're other hairdressers, but we work like a team together. Listed out on that contract with the date the extensions are going to be installed. What's their personal information? How do they maintain their hair? Do they work out? Do they take any medications? And then there's a ton of lines to initial. How the whole consultation goes down. How long is the client's natural hair? What is the exact cost of the extensions? And what is the amount of their retainer in order to retain an appointment with me on my schedule, which is 50% of the cost of the entire install, which then I break out on page 3 in the back with everything itemized, how it's going to go. And they also are told that they get our care and styling videos, that comes with it. And then on the next page, the top one is that if they cancel prior to, or if they cancel and do not give us a 72-hour notice, they lose that 50% retainer, because we've marked out all this time for this client. We're not going to probably be able to book it up within 24 to 48 hours. And it just, I mean, that's just the way it is. In the time that I've been an extension artist, how many times we've actually had to follow through with that was twice when people did not show up for their appointment. And cold or callous, whatever you want to call me, I got a business to run, I got stylists to pay, I got mouths to feed in my own house. Like, that's just the way it is. They're told, they know it. They know up front how this rolls. They then know that the hair comes from Adored Signature hand-tied hair. They know what the cost of coloring their natural hair is. They know what the cost of coloring the hair extensions is. They know that there's going to be a waiver, a take-home care sheet for them with all the products that we recommend that they should purchase within the salon. We don't make them purchase it, but it's highly recommended that you don't leave without purchasing them if you want your extensions to last and be gorgeous, right? And then there's a waiver that says, like, you are not going to allow anybody to work on your hair if they are not Adored Signature certified, and that's that. And then there is also a waiver that they have to sign that says if they don't follow the rules and they don't take care of the extensions like we tell them to, we are not responsible. Because, like I said earlier, things that go on outside of the hair salon are totally different than what goes on inside of the hair salon. And sometimes people take things into their own hands and they screw that shit up. It just is. So whatever. That's the way our contract rolls. And by the way, our hair extension contract, if you Google Adored Salon hair extension contract, you will find it. It is the #1 most downloaded hair extension contract out there today, because it tells it like it should be. And many hairstylists take it and edit it for themselves because there's not a beat missed, right? We've been through it. We know what can go wrong. We don't want this kind of drama in the salon. So whatever. So within that Hair by Chrissy charge is all of that in which I just explained, right? The coloring of the client's natural hair, the coloring of the client's hair extensions, installing the hair extensions, the cut to blend, the styling, all those things are in that one charge by her. Now, granted, is the charge high? Yeah, it's probably a little bit more than what we would charge. Maybe not, depending on the install. But you got the name behind it. You got the salon behind it. Like, you also traveled from where you live to Arizona to get this hair. Like, it's an investment. It's an investment in yourself. And if you wanted it done there, well, you're going to pay a premium price because she's built herself up as the celebrity go-to for hair extensions. Like, just going to say it. And then, if we come to it from the point of view of the salon owner, this is where it does get spicy. Okay, so to the hairstylist that trashed her, shame on you, because honestly, she's paved the way for so many of us to elevate our career, make things better than what they were, take us from the hobbyist to a career, and just all the things. If you paid attention to how business savvy this woman is, you would know that she's killing it in the hair world. I think her net worth is something like $13 million. Like, come on. She has made it in in the world and in the hair industry. She has set the bar really high, regardless of what goes on. She has. And she has all the risk behind it because she owns the businesses. So the risk falls on her. She's the one who trained all the assistants who have probably all become really successful hairstylists under her watch because she does hair back in the day really damn good. And now she delegates really damn good on how to do really good hair. So we're going to have to give that one up to her. And I got to say, her 4K hair shirts, they're pretty cool. She was pretty epic in creating those. I got to say, I would wear one. I would definitely wear one because you know what? When you are a woman in an industry and you are the person who has set the bar for what can be done, it's pretty amazing. I gotta say, like in that comparison, if we were discussing Tony Robbins, just saying, and someone wanted to pay him for his coaching, I think he's something like, it's insane, like 25 grand for an hour of coaching from Tony Robbins. Like it could even be way more. Like that could be just a recorded video that you're getting. And nobody would scoff at that. Nobody would scoff at that. And you're probably sitting there saying like, well, that's because he changes lives. He knows what he's doing. He's so experienced in it. Well, guess what? She is doing the same damn thing and she's got a price for her time. And it's not, there's no influencer that's going to ruin that for her because she's got a lot of lovers. And the influencer that's trying to ruin it for her really needs to get on the page of what she really wanted versus what she really got and what she really likes because she's all over the place. I literally just opened TikTok before I did this podcast because I wanted to see if it was still going to show up for me on my For You page instantly, right? There it is. Boom. There's a hairstylist dragging her down for it. There's a person dragging her down for it. Someone said something about how they had this Himalayan Rolls Royce of hair extensions that her boyfriend could still run his fingers through her hair and not even feel them. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what in the actual hell kind of hair extensions is that? Because every type of hair extensions has some form of an attachment or a bond to your natural hair that you're going to feel. And really and truly, who the hell is letting someone run their hands through your hair if you got hair extensions? Not me. Nope. This investment, it costs too much and nobody's going to mess it up running their fingers through it. That's for sure. So it is still trending. It is still out there. My team said this news is 2 weeks old, but people are still talking about it. They're gonna keep talking about it because it's so freaking interesting. You've got the people who don't believe that anybody could actually ever pay 4K for hair. You've got the people that are on the influencer side that are supporting this 20-year-old who probably used daddy's credit card to pay for the service, right? Because I think she's in college. It's not like she's working to pay for it herself. And then you've got, the hairstylist, which always blows my mind. Why someone within our own industry would bash someone for the prices that they're charging. The only thing that's telling there is that they haven't done the education or the work to get to be to that type of a hairstylist. And yeah, hell yeah, people are freaking paying that for their hair. It doesn't matter where you live and it doesn't matter what you do. Like, people will find a way to make good hair happen, and good hair is not cheap. I can tell you that. Sally's hair, that's cheap. Sally Beauty, it's fake hair, it's crap, it's whatever. Good hair, it's expensive. And that's the reality of the show. That's the reality of this podcast today. That's the reality of this entire situation of Hair by Chrissy and the drama that exists on TikTok, all about it. So if you stay tuned this long to get to the end of this podcast, in which I discuss all the tea on Hair by Chrissy and Not Famous, the influencer that trashed her, along with many other, thank you. Thank you for watching. If this topic was exciting to you, great. If you stayed because you can't believe it, awesome. And if you stayed in disbelief, guess what? And you want your career to get there, I got the tools that can turn you into that 4K hairstylist. I'm going to link them below to all my education. And if you don't subscribe or follow, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. It helps me grow. It helps this podcast grow. And if you think you know somebody who would benefit from hearing this, send it to them. If you are still here listening to my crazy dogs fight in the background, I'm sorry, but I'll see you next time.